In this video, we will talk about the movie Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. We will discuss the movie story, summarize the plot, and explore the cast and characters. Additionally, we will cover the movie's production details and box office performance. Finally, we will provide a review and share some personal reactions. Let's begin with the story. Spoiler alert. The films open somewhere in Hollow Earth. Kong is seen running from beasts called warthogs before making it to the edge of a cliff. The great ape then launches the creatures into this trap, sending one plummeting to its death and then tearing another one to force the others to run away. As Kong tries to feast upon his kill, he finds he has an infected tooth preventing him from eating. He then hears a loud bellowing noise, believing it to be coming from another ape, but it's just a frog creature making the noise. Kong then resigns himself to his solitude. On the surface, Dr. Eileen Andrews has been working with Monarch to keep Godzilla and Kong separate from each other. Godzilla maintains dominance over other beasts by going to kill them whenever they cause problems. In Rome, the monster Scylla is causing mayhem until Godzilla charges his atomic breath and sends down Scylla's throat before making the Colosseum his new pet. At an outpost facility in Hollow Earth, the researchers begin to detect heavy energy readings coming from Kong's territory, causing a sinkhole in the earth where Kong killed the warthogs. Eileen is alerted to the information by a Monarch colleague, Director Hampton. Meanwhile, Eileen has adopted Gia, who started public school for the first time. Gia is experiencing vision connected to the Titan, and she unintentionally makes drawings similar to the energy reading detected by Monarch. Gia tells Eileen that she doesn't feel she belongs in this new world. Later, the outpost facility is destroyed by an unknown Titan. Eileen traveled to Miami to find Bernie Hayes for his helping in figuring out the connection to Gia's vision. He agrees to help on the condition that he wants to go with her into the Hollow Earth. Another energy surge occurs, which even Godzilla senses. He leaves room and begins making his way toward the source. At the same time, Kong emerges from Hollow Earth to find Eileen and Gia, showing them his rotting tooth. Eileen contacted his old friend, a Monarch vegetarian named Trapper. He uses a large piece of his tech to pull out the tooth and give Kong a metallic replacement. Afterwards, Bernie tells Eileen that a distant signal has been detected from Hollow Earth. Eileen, Bernie, Trapper, Gia, and a pilot named Michael start following Kong on his way back down. Godzilla makes his way to a nuclear power plant in France, where he starts to absorb the radiation to charge himself up. Jet starts whooping it to try and shoot him down, but Godzilla swats them like flies. Hampton then sees that Godzilla is making his way toward another Titan called Tiamat, located in the North Pole. The researchers determine that if Godzilla kills Tiamat, he will become superjoy. The crew in Hollow Earth comes upon the Monarch outspot and find it destroyed and the researchers dead. They find a bloody paw print on the stone walls up above, which Trapper says is meant to be called for a war. Elsewhere, Kong finds the silk hole and comes upon a subterranean realm. He walks with his axe until he comes upon another figure and is stunned to discover that it is a smaller ape called Suku. While Kong tries to approach her peacefully, Suku bites him and summons 3 other apes to attack Kong. One of them almost kills Kong with his axe until he frees himself from the other apes' grabs and beats them up, even using Suku as a club against them and killing one. Another ape almost falls off a cliff, but Kong grabs him and pulls him up to safety, only for the ungrateful ape to try and stab Kong, leading him to kick the ape to his death. The third ape retreats while Kong has Suku guide him. The crew starts flying again until another energy surge causes the ship to crash. Trapper and Bernie senses danger, but Michael attempts to take the lead, which gets him eaten by a tree creature. The others run until they come upon the ruins of an old temple dedicated to Mothra. Gia activates an entrance, leading them through a protective veil into the subterranean realm. Suku brings Kong to a watering hole to drink from, until a gigantic serpent monster emerges and tries to take Kong out. Kong fights back and uses his axe to decapitate the serpent. Kong takes the serpent's remains and eats it, even sharing some with Suku, who remains surprised despite having led Kong into a trap. Monarch tracks Godzilla's path until they manage to reach Tiamat. The underwater titan emerges from her slumber and battles Godzilla. Despite Tiamat wrapping herself around him, Godzilla turns her into sushi and absorbs her radiation energy before returning underwater to get himself ready. The crew is found by warriors of the Eevee tribe, who quickly recognize Jia as one of their own. The leader of the tribe telepathically communicates with Jia and brings her forward. They touch hands, which allow them to share visions and flashbacks of the Eevee tribe, as well as Jia's own personal memories. Aline realized that the distress beacon they received was coming from the Eevee. The crew are guided further into the Eevee temple where Aline translates for them their history. Long ago, the great apes were humanity's protectors, but a ruthless leader known as the Scar King led an army of the apes to try and attack the surface world in a war against Godzilla and his species. The mighty dinosaurs stepped in and trapped the Star King and his army within Hollow Earth to prevent them from escaping. It is also said that a direct descendant of the Eevee, Jia, will be the one of reawakened Mothra. Kong follows Suku to where the other great apes are located to Kong's huge surprise. They are forced into hard labor by Scar King. Kong sees one of Scar King's enforcers antagonizing another ape. Kong steps in and has the enforcers try to get in his face, only for Kong to sucker punch him and knock him down. Scar King then shows up to meet Kong, laughing at him with the other apes for his metal tooth. Scar King attempts to come down on Suku, only for the surviving ape from earlier, the ones that attack Kong, to defend Suku. This causes Scar King to kick the ape into a pit of lava in retaliation, causing Suku to wail in agony. Kong and Scar King engage in a duel, with Scar King utilizing a whip made from another titan's spine. While Kong almost overpowers Scar King, the evil ape summons his secret weapon, an ice titan named Shimu, said by Aline to have been the cause of the Lost Age, that is controlled by Scar King using a crystal that causes her pain. He makes Shimu breathe ice towards Kong, who attempts to reflect it with his axe, but the blast is powerful enough to envelop Kong's arm in ice and causes his arm to get frostbite, weakening him. Kong starts to flee with some of Scar King's ape pursuing him, but he leads them into one of their traps, killing all except the ape that the pushed, but since he used another ape to shield himself from falling rocks. The crew spends more time with the Eevee, including Jia finally being around her own people again. Bernie tries to document his finding while Aline tells Trapper she just wants that is best for Jia. The Eevee then open the veil into the world as Suku brings the injured Kong to them. They see his arm and find him in a bad shape. Kong signs with sadness to Jia that he lost his home. Trappers tells Aline that the best thing for Kong is some tech of his from his project, Operation Powerhouse, which was done to create an augmentation to Kong in the event of another major Titan attack, but they were shut down. Trapper managed to locate the BEAST glove from the destroyed Monarch outpost and supplies it to the Kong's arm, allowing him to regain mobility and strength. He then starts to head out to the surface world to get Godzilla's attention, even though the another new Kong stepping onto his turf cloud lead to deadly consequences. Meanwhile, Scar King rides Shimu and lead the other apes towards their conquest. Godzilla reawakens after being fully charged by Tiamat's power, causing his dorsal plates to glow a bright pink color. Kong enters the surface world through a portal in Cairo, while Godzilla hears his roar in the Gibraltar and makes his way over. Big G is none too pleased to see Kong again, so he charges toward him despite Kong making an attempt to convince Godzilla to join him, as well as the monster can communicate. But he tackles Kong as they get into another big fight, destroying the pyramids. Kong puts his new glove to good use to punch Godzilla a few times. Dawn Blue in Hollow Earth, the Eevee undergo their ritual with Jia. Ushering is the rebirth of Mothra. She makes her way to the surface to intervene in the fight. Godzilla is stunned to see his odd ally once more, and it is enough for him to put aside with mess with Kong to join forces as he and Kong roar in unity. With Scar King and his forces fast approaching, the humans come up with a plan to create a gravity surge by applying Eevee technology to have their crystals create a reaction that will briefly be used to stop the evil titans from escaping. Scar King has Shimu freeze the whale and break it down so that they may enter. Godzilla and Kong then charge into battle together, leaping towards Shimu and Scar King, respectively for the ultimate Master Smackdown. The circ commences with the two apes and the two lizards docking it out mid-air, while Scar King's enforcers try to get in. Visuku joins the fight and sends the treacherous ape falling to his death. Mothra protects the human trying to fly to safety. The four main titans then fall through the portal through the surface world. The titans end up in Rio de Janeiro on the beach scaring off the other patron. Scar King then uses Shimu to unleash her ice powers upon the world, freezing several buildings and firing an ice blast to the sky. Kong gets a new Morlex in against Scar King, but Shimu makes it hard for the Kong to defeat him. Godzilla charges up his atomic breath against Scar King, who dodges the blast but gets the crystal ripped off the whip by Godzilla. As the Titan tries to get to the crystal, Suku jumps through the portal with Kong's ox and enters the battle to shatter the crystal with the swing of the ox, freeing Shimu from Scar King's control. Now without his ultimate weapon, Kong uses the evil ape towards Godzilla, who whipped him back with his tail towards Kong like a volleyball. He then holds Scar King in his air as Shimu turns on his former master and frees him into an icicle. Kong then shatters Scar King into a million pieces. Godzilla uses his breath to undergo the ice blast, setting everything back to a normal. In the aftermath, Godzilla returned to rest at the Colosseum. Mothra repaired the whale in the Hollow Earth. Aline believes that Gia is ready to part ways with her and stay with the Eevee tribe, but Gia signs to her that she will stay with Aline wherever they go. The two then part ways with Trapper and Perny. Kong returns to the Great Apes along with Suku and Shimu, the latter who is now being treated much better thanks to Kong. He then stands before the other apes as their new leader, and he raises his axe to the sky with a mighty roar, which the other apes returns with respect. Now let's talk about the cast of the Godzilla x Kong The New Empire. The first one is Rebecca Hall as Aline Andrews. It would be easy to assume that Rebecca Hall has never had to fight for anything in her life. Now 39, she made her screen debut at the age of 10 in The Comail Lawn, the 1992 TV series directed by her father, the British theatre genre Sir Peter Hall. Her stage debut came a decade later in his production of Mrs. Vaughan Profession. There followed 15 highly successful years as an actor, working with Stephen Spalding, the BFG, Christopher Nolan, The Pratique, Woody Allen as Vicky Christian Barcelona, and many more. But for more than a decade, she has been struggling to build a second career as the director of the movie that some would say she has no right to make. The movie is Passing, which Hall has adapted herself from the 1929 novel by the Harlem resistant writer Nella Larson. It is an emotional resistant study of racial identity, seen through the eyes of two black women, Irene, played by Tina Thompson, and Claire Rothnega, both of whom to varying recensions pass as white. Hall remembered first encountering the book in her early 20s and feeling a rush of inspiration. I was sat there reading and I could just suddenly start seeing it. Their two faces, seeing each other in that tea room, and I had the idea of looking from Irene's perspective and planning through someone staring at you and then coming back. That was really there and very important, in black and white in my head. Our second character is Don Stevens as Trapper. Don Stevens is an English actor born in London, England. His career took off when he landed to the role of Matthew Crawley in the television series Downton Abbey. Stephen attended Tonbridge School. He trained and performed with the National Youth Theatre in London when he was 15 years old. He majored in English literature at Emanuel College, Cambridge. Dan was first spotted by director Peter Hall. He is fluent in English, French, and German. He has 6 awards and 26 nominations to his name. He was adopted at birth by parents who were both teachers. Dan Stevens' age and fight. Dan was born on October 10, 1982 in Croydon, London. He grew up in Wales and South East England, where from a young age Steven in 41 years old he stands at the height of 6. Dan Stevens' wife. In 2009, Dan Stevens married South African jazz singer Sushi Wright, and the couple has 3 children together: Will Steven, Abre Steven, and Eden Stevens. Dan Stevens' career. In 2004, Stevens began his professional acting career. His career took off when he landed the role of Matthew Crawley in the critically acclaimed television series Downton Abbey. The show became a global sensation, and Stevens' portrait of the charming and the noble Matthew Crawley earned him widespread recognition and praise. Following his success on Downton Abbey, Stevens ventured into other projects, showcasing his versatility as an actor. He started in the thrilling film The Guest, where he played a mysterious and charismatic ex-soldier. The role allowed him to display his range as an actor and further solidify his status in the industry. In 2017, Stevens started as the Beast in Disney live-action adaptation of Beauty and the Beast. His performance as the torment suggests lovable Beast received crucial acclaim and showcased his ability to bring depth and emotion. The next one is Kayle Hotel as Gia. Actress best known for her breakout role as Gia in the 2021 The Godzilla vs. Kong. She surprised her role in the 2024 movie Godzilla x Kong The New Empire. She is deaf and is fluent in American Sign Language. She appeared in commercials including the Grip app in 2016 and the Mother's Day for Canva rally in 2017. Her favorite sport is track and field. She loves seafood and going to the beach. In 2021, she played June in an episode of Mangum Pi. Godzilla x Kong The New Empire has surpassed $560 million at the global box office, putting it on the track to become the mysterious highest grossing installment. As reported by Collider, Godzilla x Kong The New Empire, the 5th film in the Monsterverse franchise, has grossed $194 million in the US and Canada, with another $366 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $561 million, which puts in $7 million behind Kong Skull Island, $568 million lifetime box office haul. Godzilla x Kong The New Empire arrives in theater on March 29 and opened to a titanic $80 million weekend box office stateside while bringing in $141 million overseas. The movie was released on digital platform on May 24 for those wanting to watch it at home, but it was continued to perform at the box office. In strong box office tracking put it to a touching distance of the 2,000 millions that Gareth Edward Godzilla film, the first in legendary Metaverses franchise, earned throughout its theoretical run at the US box office, which means Godzilla x Kong The New Empire could smash a few more records before it leaves theater. The film has already eclipsed the worldwide box office total of Godzilla x Kong of the monster $383 million, Godzilla vs Kong $470 million, and Godzilla $529 million, making it strong multiverse entry despite mixed reaction from critics, including IGN 6/10 reviews that called it a hollow textbook visual but right. A sequel to Godzilla x Kong The New Empire is already in development, with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings screenwriter Dave Claham trapped to write the script. It currently unclear whether Adam Webb, the director behind the latest movie and 21's Godzilla vs Kong, will return to helm the follow-up. The ending of Godzilla x Kong The New Empire currently left plenty of options for a follow-up, and Wingroded has said that has some ideas of where they could go. Godzilla x Kong The New Empire review. We have got a respect when a movie knows its audience. Godzilla x Kong The New Empire is effectively that would happen if you took a thread from our Godzilla and put it up on screen. A visually stunning, a sensory expression that's all crescendo and no build-up. The stakes are high through not quite firmly established, and the entire film presents action play-off after action payout. It's utterly breathless until the breath is bellowing out of a massive stream of ice or fire, especially in IMAX. It's a 1 hour and 55-minute amusement park aside. I was walking and I had through the entire thing, wondering what was looking around the next corner, or as the outlandish universe would have it, behind the electrified plasma wall. I just could not take it too personally when it all didn't quite add up. The story is pretty clearly made with motor versus convention in mind, which would be great if that were the cause of anyone who's going to see the fifth film in the series. But the person is difficult to envision. Maybe Godzilla Minus One served as their introduction to kaiju movies, and now they went to check out the Big G nosier, flashier American output. We know that not one but both of these ritual Alpha Titan comes with decades of built-in lore, and those who will be first in line are superfans who have memorized every single detail. To have the human character once again experience shock and confusion from yet another electrician anomaly. In a universe where sesame waves and electric current have focuses into Godzilla appearances since time the immortal, and finalize the most passionate audience members and present a missed opportunity for some more imaginative writing. Sure, going back to these basics keeps the new empire aligned with the classic mythology, but at that point our characters should be recognizing these signals from the get-go. There's chance to build a there. We don't have to play stoppers and lose respect for the character out of the gate. The new empire sets up is Godzilla above Kong below dynamic early, so as we know that after 2021's Godzilla vs Kong, the two families have come to an understanding of mutually assured destruction should they stray from their respective lanes. But as a shock to know, one, that fragile peace doesn't last for long. Kong serves as the main monster throughout the new empire will immediately cast him in a more human, sensitive light that's easy to empathize with, showing clear sign of aging through craving for the Leviathan is weaker and more vulnerable than ever before. At one point he is taken out by a trophy. His senses of morality is what seals a desire for a familiar connection, and that drives most of the palette from both monkey and man. It's also what sees Rebecca Hall's Dr. Eileen Andrews despondingly go from the strong individuality protagonist of Godzilla vs Kong for the mother's-like figure softened by love of adoption daughters Gia, played by Kelly Hotel, and an old college buddy. It doesn't help that tough she is arguably the main character. Eileen's opportunity to shine suffer under the heavy weight of the Titans. Kong's emotions and those of the other apes he seeks out come across stronger than hers are. On top of all of that, Andrew takes a backseat to new addition Trappers of Monster, Vegetarian played by Dan Stevens, only serving the purpose of pushing certain plot points forwarding by reading them aloud from NCDAT Ron. There are a few fine moments of emotion that feel flat. The question is, why even bother preventing the idea of a mother-daughter connection in a monster movie? There's no time for emotions. A new, more intellectually advanced villain spurs the team of what serves to what else come together to save the world, while small details are brushed under the rug. When God's imagination for non-stop action and Abe inspiration visual in a line high. There are texture in Godzilla x Kong rarely seen on the big screen, the brightly ocean gods, frozen beast plots and growing plasma whale. Godzilla x Kong the New Empire is sensory overload. While that's all certainly impressive, and the world building is literally out of this world, there are far too many elements at play in the New Empire. It's sensory overload. Wingrod, an overrated fan of both title characters, has perhaps gone overboard, quickly plummeting as down in the world that brings ancient wisdom, advanced technology, and primal lands. It all looks great not because we are rushing through many of these environments. It's hard for any of them to make a lasting impression. Before we can even ask ourselves, how does Brand 3 Harney Breeze figure everything out so far? We are on to the next location. The only depth we are getting is that of Hollow Earth Raw. The New Empire goes deeper on the Titans' subterranean home turf the either Godzilla vs Kong or the Apple TV Plus Monarch series. The new empire borrows heavily, creating mashup of fan favorite bits and pieces from the past sacrifice hits. There's a sprinkle of Jurassic Park in every career of Hollow Earth, a near doppelganger of the Orc from Lord of the Rings, Game of the Thrones, Night King in Titan form, and a straight up Sergi. And did someone order a new volume of Guardian of the Galaxy? I am not just talking about the classic rock hits on the soundtrack. Trapper makes for an unlikable leader in the snarky Chris Pratt mode. Think Star-Lord with an Australian accent and more irritating. The new villain, on other hand, is a fierce adversary beyond compare. Scar King is ruthless, terrifying, and gross cake, and he is enslaved King's spice into doing. What exactly is unclear, but it's rendered Hollow Earth into a Mordor-scope hellscape, and that another established him as a threat. In addition to his sweeping reach and a generally whipped made of the bones, Scar King's most fearsome weapon is the control the wields not only over the ape race but also over Shimo, an ancient creature said to be most powerful titan of them all. Backup comes in the form of an involved Godzilla who takes on a shocking pink hue after a battle that I wish we got to see more of. Kong, fitted with a fresh beast glove, team up with his new pride or die to face off in the outgoing battle with Scar King. It's absolutely incredible to watch, taking monster on monster action to new height. It is worth slugging through the human drama unveiled leading up to the Royal Rumble. Sure, I could have done without Hall and company, but boy is it fun as hell if you don't think about it too much. The verdict: Godzilla x Kong The New Empire is a textbook visual thrill ride, punctuated by a brief moment of force emotion and title lills. Directed Adam Wingard has a lot of fun with texture, colors, and camera work, and he is adept at giving fans the over-the-top monster action that they demand via an imposing new villain. Unfortunately, there's no time to spend on making imposing new villain. Things make sense or even make all that much. And what new emotional punches or throw leg all necessary wind up to connect, save for some time. Very well done moments between Kong as his Hollow Earth kin. Any new Godzilla movie always has my expectation working somewhat against it. My younger brother watched and rewatched Roland Emmerich 1992 Godzilla so many times after it was released, almost daily. I am surprised he didn't run the VHS tape, but he also went back and watched several of Toku's original film, and the American edit for the very film that is centered around television future favorite fiction authority. Their films are grow up madly annoyed, so always has the background soundtrack to my childhood, but have learned to appreciate the enjoy over time. Even Emmerich, which I most recently rewatched with the family during lockdown, and still find to be immensely entertainment. However, any Godzilla movie released this year unfairly had another factor to be connected with the end of 2023 American release of Godzilla Minus One, a Japanese production from Toho Studios set in post-war Japan. It's the 37th movie in the decade-spanning Godzilla franchise and one of the best, merging some of the most impressively mounted monster movie sequence overcommitted to film with the theatrical half of the original. Unfortunately, if you look past the creature brawls and fantastic deviation of some of the most beloved moments from around the world is Godzilla x Kong The New Empire, you will not find any such thoughtful commentary on humanity's current fears and concerns, and you will not find much of the other thing that should be much harder to screw up in a movie whose main draw is big monsters smashing each other and their environment entertainment. The newly released fifth installment in the legendary picture Monster Wars series, which has included solo films centering on both Godzilla and Kong, as well as 2021 Racing Creature Future in which the port leaded for the first time, is somehow even more taut than its middling procedures. A franchise of diminishing returns done is by plot that managed to be both frustratingly evaluated and overly plot. Truly, even as I was walking out of the largest theater, I could have summarized Godzilla x Kong off to the top of my head I received. So I am providing the following broad description with the aid of Wikipedia, which I am just going to trust is right on this one. 3 years after the event of Godzilla vs. Kong, the rival monster peacefully rules over separate territories. Kong in Hollow Earth, Godzilla above ground protecting humans from the titan that merged to terrorize the planet. Then a Morag observation post in Hollow Earth pick up a signal that might indicate a new threat, especially as it promised erratic behavior in Godzilla and Gia, the last survivor of Skull's Island. Evie tribes and the adopted daughter of Dr. Aline Andrews to experience hollow communication. From there, the plot becomes divided. A sinkhole that opens near Kong's homeland him to an unknown world where a tribe of his same spice residents. Meanwhile, Andrews enlists conspiracy theorist Bernie Heiss and Wit Trapper to accompany her and Gia to Hollow Earth to locate the surface source of the signal. If you think that sounds like this story doesn't have much to do with Godzilla, you would be right. Despite essentially being top billed, our favorite atomic fire-breathing monster is really only an active figure in the film's relooking climax. Although occasional Earth's Godzilla cat like Inside's Room Colosseum are quite cute. That would not be an issue if the rest of Godzilla x Kong delivered. Some of the stuff with Kong is fun, particularly the giant ape's resourcefulness is battle. At one point he swings a baby ape as a weapon, at another he is given a 90 mechanical arm. But the bulk of the film centers around the human leads delivering a lot of nonsensical explosion that it's hard to really care about. How this series keeps getting away with casting some of the most talented actors working in movies today and completing worst that remains more mystifying than the secrets of Hollow Earth. Not even a gonzo performance from the always amusing Stephen Lives of the Prosting any effective comedic bag, and the fourth teen him and Henry is hindered by poor writing that is clearly trying to force time to become a thing. At this point, I might be entering my big monster phase of adulthood. Developmental psychologists usually call this the mid-30s. I am all in one on the monster verse of better, worse, and in this case just okay. Godzilla x Kong The New Empire dropped the unvirtual versions of the previous film in the series, and unfortunately loses some of the fun conflict with it. These titans got most of their good fight out in Godzilla vs Kong, and honestly they should have been kept apart a while longer before being smashed into another team-up film. As with the rest of the movies in this franchise, one of Godzilla x Kong's greatest failing in the humans that are not comic relief. This movie is about a hollow earth beneath another hollow earth. We don't need a side story about printing. As the monster was continued, it either needs to be hire better writers for those emotional moments or toss them to the side entirety. Fortunately, the two main sources of the comic relief is Dan Stevens Trapper, a titan vegetarian adventurer, and Brian Ter Henry Burney, a constantly podcaster were a delight. Their carefree nearly borrowments throughout the peril is Hollow Earth is one of the best part of the film. Now, onto bromic that are not fulfilling. Godzilla and Kong. Unfortunately, the storyline of these two titans are mostly separate from the entirety of the film. Kong's feel fully fleshed out and interesting if a little overdone, but Godzilla feels more like an overthought. Aside from using the Roman Colosseum as a dog bed, there's not much a favorite leisure to do. There was potential for some more King of the Monster style action, but it never felt fully delivered and was rushed. Ultimately, I don't think the film needed both Godzilla and Kong. Future entirety would do well to focus on one another before trying another team-up movie. Another issue is that the film's big bad didn't feel as well big. When it's just Kong and the other apes on screen, there's a problem with visual context without anything to compare these titan creatures to. They look like normal apes. It's only when titans are next to building or we see humans running in the street they are awesome size of the monster it filled. Unfortunately, most of the big fighting happens in Hollow Earth, making such of the middle of the film feel small as a result. Thankfully, the final fight is as substantial on the surface and is fun to watch. It's not as good as the climax is King of the Monsters, but you can't be Godzilla playing it worth a several head like a filming flood. Overall, Godzilla X Kong is not quite as good as its predecessors, but it is still a fun popcorn flick. If you want to watch giant monster fights, you could certainly do a lot of worse. But if you are averse to doing the theaters, you are in luck and can probably wait a few months for this movie to come to Max. In the meantime, I recommend going back and watching Kong, Skull Island and Godzilla King of the Monsters instead. Godzilla X Kong The New Empire is the fifth installment in the MonsterVerse series, and it is exactly what you would expect from these kinds of films. This was an enjoyable entertainment and quick movie which is a nice change of pace to what has been put out over the last year. I have loved the long epics such as Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon, but it seems like everything we watch nowadays in 2.5 hours or more. Godzilla X Kong is just short of 2 hours and feels like it had you in and out of the theater in no time. Before I get into what I like and dislike about the film, I want to talk about Greenville's new movie theater, Golden Ticket Cinemas Greenville, Canada. It is where the old Regal complex was a Greenville, Providence next to the Texas Roadhouse. This theater is everything you want out of the movie-going experience. It's elite theater, it's great. It has a 4K laser projectors and the big screen that Greenville NC has to offer. The clinical are great. Lastly, the connections are like nothing I have seen, and I have a self-serving popcorn machine, so instead of waiting on some teenager who hates their jobs, you can fill your own bucket and put it as much as you want. The movie itself was okay. I obviously didn't go in and with crowd expectation because it's about a giant gorilla teaming up with a nuclear missile to fight a large orangutan. The special effects were amazing for all of the Kong part, but Godzilla once again looked like that had done a halfway job on the Paris. The greatest part of the whole movie was Kong's facial expression for a film that had to rely solely on blue screen. CGI and all the jazz, the storytelling done through Kong's expression was great. The action was awesome in the movie. The whole time you were just watching monster do WWE moves on each other. Godzilla literally counters a spear from Kong onto an overhead suplex which made me audibly laugh in the theater. Scar King was a great antagonist, but his fight with Godzilla and Kong seemed rushed. There was definitely more they could done, but neither of the main characters nor the villain being able to speak, there was little to do. Also, the humans in these movies are not good. I'm not going to say they are terrible, but it's the same shock and awe in every movie. This is the fifth movie of the franchise, and people are still perplexed that Godzilla is tearing up their city. If you just want a nice, fun, mind-blowing experience, this is all you just need. You will love, you will cry, you will groan. This movie has it all. Is probably my favorite of that franchise. Godzilla X Kong The New Empire has delighted fans since its release in March 2024. It still stands at the top of the US box office with a worldwide gross of $361 million thus far, which has exceeded the expectation of its distributor Warner Bros. It stars Rebecca Hall, Dan Stevens, Brian Harley, Kyle Hotel, and of course Godzilla and King Kong in the lead role. The big budget blockbuster is a sequel to 2021 Godzilla vs Kong and is a part of the MonsterVerse franchise. The Adam Wingard returning to direct the sequel. The movie pits the almighty Kong against the fearsome Godzilla, but they must join forces against a Colosseum under which they are hidden within their world. What happened in Godzilla X Kong The New Empire? The box office hit is the 3 years after Kong defeated Godzilla and shut down Apex Cybernetic, and he has established his new territory in the Hollow Earth and is searching for more of his kind. Elsewhere on Earth, Godzilla continues to maintain order between humanity and the giant monster known as Titan, and kill Sela in Rome, Italy, and reset the Colosseum in Rome. A monarch observation outpost which is located in the Hollow Earth pick up an undefined signal. The signal causes Gia, the last known survivor of the EV tribe of Skull Island, to experience hallucination and vision, which prompts her adoptive mother Dr. Aline Andrews to be very concerned. Godzilla also senses the signal and leaves room, and attacks a nuclear plant in the France to observe the radiation. Godzilla then heads to the Titan's diamond layer in the Arctic. The monarch thinks Godzilla is building up its strength to deal with an oncoming threat. When a skin hole opens near his home, Kong discovers an uncharted region where a tribe of her spies has arrived, including a javelin called Suko. Kong forces Suko to lead him to the tribe's lair, and the two start bonding during their journey. The tribe's leader is the Scar King, and battle Kong with the aid of an ancient ice-powered titan called Shimo, who is controlled by the Scar King using a crystal. Shimo's icy breath causing Demago to Kong's right arm, causing several forbish, but with Suku's help Kong managed to escape. Aline, Gia, Trapper, and Conspiracy podcast Bernie has traveled to the Hollow Earth to locate the source of the signal and find the Monarch outpost destroyed. The group discovered a temple that leads them to a subterranean section that houses a surviving EV tribe who communicate telepathically with each other, despite that the signal was a telepathical distress call sent by EV tribe. Inside the temple, Aline discovers hierarchically displaying the past and future. Turns out the Scar King wants to attempt to conquer the surface world and waged war against Godzilla's spies, but Godzilla was able to defeat him and trapped him and his tribe deep in the Hollow Earth. The prophecy also suggests that Gia is the key to reawakening Mothra. Kong locates the temple and is fitted by Trapper with a prototype Score's art brace to strengthen and haul his forbidden limb. The Scar King's royalist has followed them and informed him, and he assembled his invasion force for Earth. Kong joined forces with Ark Army Godzilla after they engage in one of the best fights at the pyramids, which is interrupted by Mothra, and they hijack in the movie arrive in battle the Scar King in Hollow Earth. Trapper leads some warriors to join the fight, and eventually the Scar King, Godzilla, Shimo, and Becky Kong end up in Rio de Janeiro, where chaos ensues. Rio gets destroyed by the cage and Godzilla and Kong try to bring down the Scar King and Shimo. The Scar King was a crystal-like controlled Shimo, meaning he has no choice but to fight on his side. The combined forces of Godzilla, Kong, and Boogie Kong result in the whip with the crystal and attached to it getting broken and Shimo is freed. Shimo helps the other take down the Scar King by using her freeze power on him, and Kong smashes the frozen kaiju, defeating him once and for all. Godzilla and Kong go other separate ways, with Kong, Baby Kong, and Shimo returning to Hollow Earth. Aline, Trapper, Bernie, and Gia all survive, and when Aline asks if Gia is going to stay in Hollow Earth, she tells her abducted mother that she'll go wherever she does, because that is her home. This statement makes Trapper and Bernie all emotional as they look on. Kong, Becky Kong, and Shimo return to the Scar King's lair, while Godzilla going back to sleeping in the Colosseum in Rome. Gia is able to awaken Mothra, and Kaiju help Godzilla and Kong in their battle against the Scar King. Godzilla x Kong The New Empire has had mixed review from the critics with a 54 rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Tomatoes approved critic Delight Pony said in the review, Godzilla and X Kong uses to have a beef. Now that they have kissed and made up, there's no real meat in the generic big creature smackdown. However, the fans has been much more positive about the monster movie with an overall audience rating of 94%. Now let's talk about the complete production of Godzilla x Kong The New Empire. Zakaria Olowai as producer Morocco, Mark Albela as line producer Gabriel, Jay Ashwester as executive producer, Jennifer Conroy as executive producer, Lucifer B. Defson as line producer, Zach Kaline as co-producer, Gabriella as executive producer from Italy, John Marks as line producer from Palette Unit, Richard Marish as co-producer, Mary Parent as producer PGA, Carl Sigurdsson as line producer from Iceland, Adam Wingard as executive producer, Thomas Tull as producer, Brian Roger as producer, Kenji Okayo as executive producer, Eric McLeod as producer, Dan Line as executive producer, Roy Lee as executive producer, Alex Garcia as producer, Bianca Costa as line producer from Brazil, Joshimsto Beno as executive producer. Makeup department: Jason Bade as prosthetic designer, Mickey Carposo as assistant hire department head, Corinne Callery as prosthetic artist, Jana J. Toffee as prosthetics assistants, Nicolo Eva as prosthetic artist, Lindy Bester as additional hairstylist, Brocky Cabbage as assistant makeup artist, Zoe Coop as hairstylist, Marinda Emblem as makeup artist, Fran Gambret as prosthetic assistants, Shanoon Harip as additional special makeup, Natalia Letko as key prosthetic artist, Anika Lowe as background hair supervisor, Adam McGorn as assistant prosthetic artist, Brady Oxford as prosthetic makeup artist, Adeline Fairpitz as prosthetic makeup artist, Sharon Robbins as background hair supervisor, Taylor Scott as prosthetic makeup artist, Natalie Sanfield as additional hair, American Williams as makeup artist, Sabrina Wilson as makeup department head, Sarah Taylor as prosthetic assistant, Daniel Snarshall as hair stylist, Vicky Sands as additional prosthetic artist, Nicola Pulvirent as makeup artist, Gloria Pesca as Casney hair department, Gabby Navate as assistant makeup department, Ashleen McZone as prosthetic assistant, Sarah Lord as prosthetic coordinator, Brianna Hartley as hair stylist, Sean Candace as special makeup effects supervisor, Nicolette Eva as prosthetic artist, Sarah J. Duffy as prosthetic assistant, Corinne Callery as prosthetic artist, Mickey Caproso as assistant hair department. Now let's talk about the sound department. Eric Ardell as supervising sound editor, George Atkin as ADR mixer, James Bryant as ADR recordist, John T. Susi as Foley artist, Jill DeFile as international re-recording mix technician, Nick Emond as production sound mixer, Russell Farmoko as dialogue editor, Tavish Carez as Foley mixer, Grid Jonovich as ADR mixer, Esther Kim as sound department trainee, Adam Coppelt as sound designer, Rikal Larkin as boom operator, Spencer Londy as re-recording mix technician, Damon Maxey as ADR assistant, Frank A. Montaco as re-recording mixer, Marcel Samanua as ADR loop group, Tommy Treadwell as ADR mixer, Stephen Webster as ADR mixer, Zayo Lavia Zhang as sound designer, Matt Vowels as foreign dialogue re-recording mixer, Ben Wyatt as boom operator, Nathan Van Der as supervising sound editor, Maya Toffel as ADR recordist, Dan O'Kell as Foley artist, Bill Meadows as re-recording mix technician, Darren Menard as sound designer, Veronica Lee as assistant sound editor, Gina Long as audio post-producer, Jonathan Kelly as supervising Foley editor, Alexa Khan as ADR recordist, John Greasley as additional re-recording mixer, Dan Camich as sound effect editor, John Erickson as dialogue ADR supervisor, Mark D. Salmon as ADR mixer, Mark D. Angelo as dialogue editor, Jack Chusey as Foley mixer. Animation department, Caroline Kandhart Alexandra as animator, Alexander Antones as senior animator, KV Kilva Brath as senior animator, Travis Tron Briston Jr. as layout, Amoni Kuljan as senior animator, Franza Follery as lead animator, Sasha Sabono Halsey as visual animator, Mark Latori as senior animator, Andrew Malksi as animator, Vinayak Panditra as animator, Marjan Van Den Acker as animator, Brian Wilter M. Nord as animator, Grant Wilson as animator, Angie Printle as animator, Ollie Williams as animator, Shubgal Singh Vastev as technical director, Vanessa Rossi as animator, Amar Naeem as animator, Jacob Leoma as senior visual animator, Meta VFX, Job Josh as animator, Rainflowers as animator, Brian Eyre as animator, Jonathan Kanazel Kopsoon as senior 3D animator, Aaron Biswas as animator, Colton and Posh as animator, Brian Ederson as animator. Art Department: Raja Ashkani as set designer, Monila Armal as prop maker, Jeremy Burnett as Brack Lightning, Mitchell Bate as armorer, Josh Beecham as set tech manufacturing head Malkason, Micham Barner as storyboarder, Luke Cheska as set designer, Rose Kalar as construction supervisor, Kendra Kesp as props, Emma Dimich as design assistants, Benjamin Donnelly as assistant art director, Laureen N. Invas as art department coordinator, Anthony Fitzpatrick as swing gang, Danny Ferron as additional environment artist, Christopher Gifford as graphic designer, Randy Gomer as action vehicle lead mechanic, Zach Heath as property department coordinator, Jesse Hinkle as scenic artist, Tobias Cheha as senior model maker, Andrew Catty as assistant art director, Nolly King as set designer, Jade Krisvicki as creator designer, Jazz Media as property assistants, Cindy Morissa as set tech manufacture coordinator, Stephen B. Milton as property master, Andrea Milgencio as props art department, Alexander Moy as concept illustrator, Jada Sinonal as draft person, Sam Olivo as scene artist, Manuel Plank George as concept artist, Raja Rehal as concept artist, John Sarkot as senior prop maker, Dean Sharif as concept artist, Seem Smith as graphic artist, Sean Thompson as art runner, Giovanni Vironsa as set designer, Anthony Wynn as storyboard artist, Ulrich Ropel as concept artist, Carol Wings as props assistants, Cataline Vlog as assistant art director, Satila Vicaro as set designer, Kyle Tammet as set finisher, Donna Lee Simon as junior draft person, Noah Scholz as motion design lead, Georgian Tate Russell as set designer, Amin Rada as property master Morocco, Steven Parsons as set rig designer, Amy O'Connor as design assistants, Gabriel O'Brien as props coordinator, and Reese Montiel as digital asset manager from Los Angeles, Mikhail Mayers as concept artist and art department, Lucinda Migor as graphic designer, Daniel Mador as art department researcher, Daniel Lupis Pantoja as set decoration buyer designer, Andrew Kirkman as set recording manufacturer, Madeline Kilkery as design assistant, Simon Johnson as assistant standby props, Carol Rebecca Hoffman as assistant art coordinator, Stephen Hogmanfrey as art department coordinator, Barkan Halil as storyboard artist, Serena Kaidik as assistant property master, Julie Hughes as assistant property master, Brian Flexmore as digital asset manager, Peter Exton as steel sets instructor, Mary Dior as clearance coordinator, Tor Delhouse as carpenter, Matthew R. Cunningham as concept artist, Chorus Corbett as assistant property master, Francesca Calmega as DEG art department, Jerry Cameron as concept model maker, Richard Bennett as storyboard artist, Brett Beecham as prop and set decoration manufactured head, Jessica Barrell as graphic designer, Yusuf Brotto as standby props art department, Matt Soap as concept artist. Additional crew: Anis El Mubarak Alu as accountant from Morocco, Cassandra Barber as right and clearance, Vincent Beefy as production coordinator, Sufi Blackshaw as set pa, Bruce Brown as cultural constructional, Rachel Briscoe as set pa, Talia Bookberry as production supervisor, Nastasia Kazik as production coordinator, Caleb Day as COVID compliance supervisor, Miguel Dougherty as additional literary material, Manila Dog as executive production coordinator, Rennie France as assistant Maud France, Martin Garner as videographic engineer, Della Hart as looper, Emily Helmet as assistant Mark Garcia, Joshua Hotel as master ASL coach, Ben John Jameer as production secretary, Al Kent as additional literary material, Brian Lade as SVC of Business and Legal Affairs, Victoria Liu as key setpa, Gail Marks as financial controller, Kay Messels as assistant accountant, David McGuinn as main tiles producer, Mike Munagan as Pizza Godzilla Grift Easter Egg, Gersi Onan as assistant MS Chen, Glosia Paki as production coordinator, Pedro Vitor Pera as setpa, Sharon Popela as ornate nurse, Ananta Christian Raj as production assistants, Julie Richmar as production supervisor, Shane Rigby as safety supervisor, Michael Ruff as looper, Patrick B. Brand as production assistant, Clay Savage as looper, Rehana Shaheen as assistant production coordinator, Deborah Samrin as unit publication, Marcel Chamorro as looper, Conrad Smith as assistant accountant, Sakib Scan as looper, Julie Stevens as production accountant, Kate Stone as production placement coordinator, Emily Tate as production coordinator, Eric W. Thompson as production legal service, Samantha Train as production secretary, Greg Wagner as production secretary, Greg Wagner as production assistant, Duna Willis as production accounting, Tara Wilson as assistant MS parent, David Seller as looper, David Willockboy as stand-in uncredited, Ben Sean as end call by Scarlett Letter, Kate Farmall as cartographer, Madeline Wilson as assistant assistant director, Chalcia Webb as account assistant, Verly Frogger Pears as supervisor post-production, A Wild Thermos as production coordinator, Tabitha Ternol as first assistant accountant, Molly Sullivan Steven as assistant Mr. Henry, Adam M. Stone as product placement coordinator, Antonia Stevens as payroll accountant, Varens Roca as looper, Jill Smith as looper, Georgia Simon as looper, Zach Shields as additional literary material, Stan Steeler as looper, Jennifer Saunders as aerial unit coordinator, Jesse Ryan as production secretary, Mario Roman as looper, Douglas Rigloff as consultant ASL, Salah Rakovic as key office paid, Ginsulia Gorgain as assistant Mr. Marcia, Nicole Petrom as additional literary material, Jessica Pinkton as looper, Mina Oliveira as looper, Joy Naber as looper, Richard Miro as looper, David McShee as looper, Veronica Maxwell as key second assistant accountant, Ryan Makespace as travel and accommodation coordinator, Brabby Leg as Motorworks mythology development, Chris Kiefer as videographic supervisor, Stephanie Kelly as assistant Mr. Henry, Cassie Hotel as master ASL coach, Rachel Hopkins as recreate the third floor, Susuda Hassel as assistant Mr. Stevens, Jack Rich as unit assistant, Holly Friedman as interpreter Miss Hotel, Sydney Edcombe as assistant Mr. Crane, Shay Drop as assistant Mr. McDowell and Mickey, Jason Demo as first assistant accountant, Vicky Davis as looper, Anna Cook as assistant Mr. Wingard, Matt Buckbury as COVID assistance coordinator, Laura Bricky as first assistant accountant, Madison Bonsworth as assistant MS Hall, Bajra Bentape as production coordinator, Raja Brody as looper, James Askford as additional literary material. In disproving the 3-year-old space Godzilla theory, Godzilla x Kong the New Empire raised a new question about Godzilla origin. Ever since Godzilla vs Kong, there have been deeply held theories that the multiverse is building toward a colossal showdown, in which Godzilla and Kong face off against Space Godzilla. a no-time villain from the 1990s Godzilla movies. Supposedly, the version of the monster exists in the same mold was Gordish and the multiverse Cars King, meaning he too beloved to be an ancient enemy of Godzilla. As the time impiles, Space Godzilla is a comsic incarnation of the king of the monsters. Introduced in Godzilla vs Space Godzilla as a creature born from Godzilla DNA being mutated by a black hole. Space Godzilla has a reputation as one of Godzilla's strongest villains. His power level and menacing design gave consent to the theories that Godzilla vs Kong secretly set up him for a future movie. But that scenario no longer looks likely through a Space Godzilla appearances has not necessarily been ruled out. Although Godzilla vs Kong itself never include any reference that could be interpreted as a Space Godzilla reference, the movie's novelization did have a few furious lines that justifies these species. The book detailed an ancient EV prophecy that made mention of Zuzla Halawa, a monster that ate a star and battled Kong spice in the multiverse Hollow Earth world. The obvious implication of this discussion was that Zuzla Halawa and Godzilla are one and the same, but description of him in the novel left room for speculation about this identity. Zuzla Halawa was characterized as a monster with evil intention, thus leading to this belief that Zuzla Halawa was actually Space Godzilla. His organ being connected to a star went hand in hand with the idea, so did some unused concept from Godzilla vs Kong. Featured in Godzilla vs Kong 1 Will Fall. The Art of the Ultimate Battle Royale, a cave model depicted a winged Godzilla flying above armies of great apes and the other members of Godzilla's species. This created the impression that the alternate version of Godzilla, possibly Space Godzilla, may have been the true villain of the Ancients. Titan War, but after Godzilla x Kong, the new Empire explanation of the EV myth, that doesn't appear to be the case after all. Instead, it can be expected now that Zuzla Halawa and Godzilla really are the same monster. Unlike Godzilla vs Kong, Godzilla x Kong does name drop Zuzla Halawa and provide a full overview of the EV myth, which include him eating a star. Interestingly, Godzilla x Kong clears up question about Zuzla Halawa's identity by addressing him as Godzilla and diving into Zuzla Halawa's conflict with Scar King. Clearly, it's not Space Godzilla who seals Scar King away, given that the former is strictly a villain that models in the temple also after illustration of the monster that most containly Godzilla, not the costume contributor from Godzilla vs Space Godzilla. Additionally, what happened in Godzilla x Kong can also be used to undermine the other biggest audience of the Godzilla theory, which is outer form art. There are two different ways to look at the painting. One being that the creature was a winged Godzilla-like monster, the other was the Mothra was crying Godzilla. In reopposed, the latter interpretation makes a lot more sense. After Godzilla x Kong's ending, it appeared that Mothra did indeed exist along Godzilla and Kong in the Hollow Earth and was indeed a key player in this shared history. When Space Godzilla was suspected to Zuzla Halawa, the meaning of the novelization line about the monster eating a star fit in with the character's cosmic origin. But now that the theory has been debunked, its meaning has become much more mysterious. Apparently, it was Godzilla himself who costumes this star. Whatever it was remains unclear, but it appears that it has some connection to Godzilla's secret past. The full details of Godzilla's backstory remain explored. It's highly possible that it relates to this accusation of this blue atomic power. Godzilla vs Kong implied that it's not a brutal ability for this species when it revealed that the Hollow Earth energy source and Godzilla power are the same. That serves as an indication that at some point in the mysterious timeline, Godzilla permanently harnessed the Hollow Earth energy source. The star mentioned by both Godzilla vs Kong's novelization and Godzilla x Kong could have been the means in which he accomplished this. Whatever it was, that's a good chance the transition isn't literal, and it was some object where the EV have mistaken of. While Space Godzilla not being the focus of the EV myth may some disappointment, none of this is to say the Space Godzilla will not be joining the multiverse. A way of him to appear does need exist, but was not provided by Godzilla vs Kong. If the monsterverse want to bring in Space Godzilla, the easiest way to do is to build on setup from Apple TV Plus is to Godzilla show, Monarch Legacy of Monsters. In season 1, it was started that the energy from the Hollow Earth rift is found only in pulsars, supermassive black holes from other space. The show likening the Hollow Earth's energy to black holes create a sortable pathway for Space Godzilla to be introduced. After all, the energy of a black hole is how the original version was created in the first place. Because of this reveals the multiverse can have its own Space Godzilla in a way that perfectly accommodates its pre-existence lore. The Hollow Earth is at the center of Godzilla and Kong's universe, so using it to introduce Space Godzilla would be more organic way of doing it than shooting Godzilla's DNA into outer space like Godzilla via Space Godzilla did. As for how this could work, is possibly that in Godzilla x Kong the New Empire sequel, it could be revealed that a member of Godzilla's species had an ancient when traveling between the Hollow Earth realm and the result in his DMR being mutilated by the energy within its rift. If that happens, Space Godzilla could be lurking somewhere in the multiverse, quickly gearing up for a clash with this heroic carpenter. After Godzilla x Kong The New Empire, I am even more eager for Godzilla random team up in the multiverse. After Radon bore down to Godzilla at the end of Godzilla King of the Monsters, I was optimistic that the King of the Skies would make a second appearance in the multiverse. The Cloten scene contently hinted that possibility that the subsequent multiverse entries have avoided the scenario entirely. But while it may seem like Rodan has been left behind, Godzilla x Kong's ending gave me a new reason to hope for its return. I am not sure what Legendary has in store for Rodan, but what I do know is that a Godzilla x Kong sequel is happening. The New Empire didn't offer any direct setup for another installment, but it laid down the groundwork for Godzilla and Kong to count Shimu and Mothra as allies in whatever this next battle is. Assuming that the movie follows the blueprint of more sequel, it will try to find a way to up the ante in the terms of threat Godzilla and Kong are facing. That's why I think Shimu and Mothra will not be the only ones fighting beside them, and if there's another titan on their side, I really want it to be Rodan. Shimu's apparent role in the multiverse future is a big part of why I think Rodan's return would be a great move of the next film. At the end of Godzilla x Kong, it was strongly implied that going forward Shimu and Kong will be friends in the multiverse. Through Shimu's ice powers, the multiverse could create an interesting contrast between Godzilla and Kong if the former winds up is an ally with Rodan, a monster known for his fiery abilities. As monsters that represent fire and ice respectively, Rodan and Shimu are polar opposite of each other in terms of what they bring to the table. And that's all the more reason of Godzilla to be prepared and Rodan in Godzilla vs Kong 3. If Kong is going to have a partner in combat for this on, there will be a need of the multiverse to balance that out and Godzilla's side. And Gods would be great choice for that as well. But Rodan's power adds something to the equation that God can't. With Rodan, Godzilla will have the perfect counterpart at Shimu, which could make for an exciting tag team fight if another Godzilla Kong rematch happen. With Rodan filling such a role in the Godzilla x Kong sequel, the multiverse would have the blueprint for a spectral titan quarter that I'd love to see on the big screen. One reason why Godzilla and Kong made a great team is how different they are from each other. Godzilla is a weapon of pure raw power, whereas his Kong capabilities are less about pure strength and are defined more by his anxiety and intelligence. Having that combination makes that a threat to any force in the multiverse, and the same concept easily applies to Rodan and Shimu. With Rodan burning up their fuel and Shimu brumting them with her eyes, the four Titans would have two respectively different weapons to unleash on Godzilla vs 3 villain. Utilizing fire and ice in this manner creates a ton of potential when it comes to creating impressive visual during the movie's final fight scene. I loved seeing Godzilla, Mothra and Kong work together in the New Empire, but these four titans teaming up, complete with each for their unique abilities, could even be more exciting to watch. I honestly can't imagine a stronger combination of four heroic Kiji in Godzilla's universe. With Godzilla having already made a mention out of Rodan in King of the Monster, the setup for Fodon joining Godzilla, Kong, and Shimu currently does exist. With Rodan was last year off, he was inhabiting inside a volcano near Fiji, and is presumed still there. That accounts for why he's not been around as of late, but those circumstances could easily be charged by the Monsterverse next threat. If Godzilla thinks he can't handle it alone, he could call Rodan out of Hackburton. Given that he obviously recognized Godzilla as the Alpha, he's been obliged to obey, thus paving the way of the pair to fight alongside Kong and Shimu in the movie's ending. As someone whose list of most watched Godzilla movies include Invasion of Astro Monster and Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, I've always been interested in the prospect of the Monsterverse's Godzilla enjoyed a team-up with Rodan. That's not coming to pass in Godzilla King of the Monster was a bit of a disappointment, especially when considering this history. It's not just his personal favorite, he is also teamed up with Godzilla in 4 Toho movies, which is more than we can be aid of any other Godzilla alive, Mothra included. And with this in mind, I have felt it necessary for Rodan to have a familiar relationship with Godzilla in the Monsterverse. He didn't get that in the King of Monster, which was made worse by the fact both of this monster fight ended in losses. This can be rectified, however, if the next movie pairs off Godzilla and Rodan and lets them work as an effective tag team. It can even pay homage to some of Team Attack by used on Ghidorah at the scene. After seeing Godzilla and Kong's use of teamwork in Godzilla x Kong The New Empire, I have high hopes that the Monsterverse will go justice to Godzilla Great Ally. Why Godzilla killed Tiamat in Godzilla x Kong The New Empire? Before taking on the villainous Scar King in Godzilla x Kong The New Empire, Godzilla killed 2 Titans from the surface world, and while his attack on the water dragon Tiamat may have been seemed unwanted, he had multiple veteran versions for putting an end to highly irritating monster. As established in previous legendary Monsterverse movies, as the Alpha Titan, Godzilla is responsible for monitoring the other Titan on the surface to ensure they don't upset the neutral order. Sela's attack on Rome in Godzilla x Kong is a good example of him intervening when a Titan challenges authority. However, Godzilla sought out Titan in his lair, which was located at the top of the planet in the Arctic Ocean. Tiamat had not given any legitimate reason for Godzilla to act aggressively, much less to go as far as killing her. However, it was no random act of violence as a part of the King of the Monsters. Godzilla had multiple reasons for killing Tiamat, which the most significant playing out over the rest of Godzilla x Kong. Their showdown in Godzilla x Kong The New Empire was not the first time that Godzilla and Tiamat crossed paths. Monarch labeled Tiamat as a destroyer titan due to her aggressive and destructive behavior, and even Godzilla's statue as the Alpha didn't deter her. Tiamat was held at the outpost in Stone Mountain, Georgia until Ghidorah unleashed all the titans in Godzilla, King of the Monster, but she never made it to Boston to submit to Godzilla when Ghidorah was killed. In Godzilla Dominant, the graphic novel prequel to Godzilla vs Kong, the story of their first battle is described. In the aftermath of Godzilla's battle with Ghidorah, Godzilla seeks out of a place to rest only to be amused by Tiamat. Godzilla eventually overpowers her and forces her into submission, but not before she binds him with toxic vapor and cuts her many times with her scales. Tiamat submitted to him to save his own life, but their enemy was well established by the time Godzilla came after her in Godzilla x Kong. Godzilla didn't kill Tiamat for sport, vengeance, or out of anger. He needed to remove her from her lair. As described in Godzilla x Kong, Tiamat's lair's position on the globe made it one of the most expensive sources of radiation on the planet. The lair shores a massive amount of solar radiation, which is part of that gives Tiamat and eventually Godzilla's the pink coloration. In order for Godzilla to access his store of energy, Godzilla needed to remove the fairly traumatic Tiamat from her lair. And given their history together, that would be no asking nicely. By killing Tiamat, Godzilla not only gained access to Tiamat's lair, he accessed her power as well. The movie's novelization mentioned that the process of killing Tiamat and conquering himself in his lair, Godzilla absorbed some of Tiamat's DNA, which is part of the reason himself in his lair, that his internal atomic energy changes from the blue to pink. It's actually his second time in the Monsterverse that Godzilla has done this. When Mothra describes herself against Jildra, Godzilla absorbed her DNA to achieve this remotation, just as the observes Tiamat DNA to achieve his evolved state. As unfortunate as it is for Tiamat, Godzilla needed to absorb her DNA as the energy from her lair so that he would be powerful enough to unstop the threat of Scar King. Scar King Monsterverse history is spelled out by the Hollow Earth EV tribe and tells of Godzilla's past encounter with both Scar King and Shimu. It's clear that Godzilla is familiar with the threat that he will face and knows that he'll need to achieve to have a chance at stopping it. Without the massive power increase he gained from Tiamat's DNA, Godzilla likely would not have been able to defeat Shimu, especially with her under Scar King's control. That's why he embarked on his global quest to power up and achieve the evolved state. A Monarch screen in Godzilla X Kong notes that the dorsal panel of Godzilla evolved state can hold 20x the energy of his normal state, which shows just how stronger Godzilla was able to get. Without the massive power increase, Godzilla likely would not have been able to defeat Shimu, especially with her under Scar King's control. As unfortunate as Tiamat's death was in Godzilla X Kong The New Empire, it was ultimately necessary for Godzilla to save the world from Scar King's reign. Godzilla X Kong 15 most rewatchable scenes. Godzilla X Kong The New Empire had a lot of great scenes, from hilarious moments featuring Godzilla X Kong to some of the best fight with Monsterverse has ever seen. After Godzilla vs Kong made it clear that the monster was ready to embark in its chapters, conspired side, The New Empire take things to the next level and deliver 2 hours of fun kaiju action. Although the human Godzilla X Kong cast was compelling enough, the Titans once again stalled the show. Godzilla X Kong spends more time inside the Hollow Earth compared to previous Monsterverse movies and shows. In other words, the movies introduce a lot of new Titans and give the time and space to shine. Although the latest entry in the Monsterverse timeline focused more on Kong and his story, Godzilla gets some great moments too. The two hordes on the separate journey until they team up again and against a great threat. Kong's runaway from the warthogs and later take them down using the traps he set up feels like it could have been a scene from Skull Island. By showing Kong's lonely life in the opening sequence, Godzilla as Kong sets the tone of what the rest of movies is going to be like. The scene also mirrored the beginning of Godzilla vs Kong, during which the Great Ape was being kept a prisoner in Skull Island. On the one hand, seeing Kong feel likely as quite wholesome. On the other hand, his loneliness was great sad. There is an argument to be made that Kong's using Siku was a weapon against our Great Ape is the best scene in the entire Monsterverse. Godzilla X Kong captured the essence of a very specific era of monster movies, and this movement with Kong and Suku is the perfect example of it. It is a hilarious scene that throwing audience off guard and sets the tone of how fun the rest of Kong's adventure will be. This moment is also bested since Kong is betrayed and attacked shortly after finding out he is not the last of his species. Godzilla fights Kayle in Rome. Godzilla has had multiple appearances in the Monsterverse already, including 2 solo movies and the Monarch TV show. Therefore, the bar is high for any scene featuring the king of the monsters. Still, Godzilla introduces the New Empire could not have been cooler. Not only was the brief fight against Kayle is a lot of fun, but this moment also established that Godzilla sees Earth in its entirety and will not stop as nothing to protect it. It ends with Godzilla going back to sleep in Colosseum, a callback to his original home as depicted in King of the Monsters. Kong fights the Dwarf Viper. The Dwarf Viper may have been defeated quickly easily by Kong, but is still one of the coolest Titan in the Monsterverse. Although it is difficult to have a scene of scale in the Hollow Earth, the Dwarf Viper's sheer presence was enough to establish how majestic and powerful this creature is. It is also called Kong of God, which seems to have been Suku's place the entire time. Considering that Kong's struggle is a lot of in Godzilla X Kong seeing the guardian of humanity and seeing the Great Ape take down our titans throughout the more movies was more than welcome. Why Bobby Brown didn't return for Godzilla X Kong The New Empire. Millie Bobby Brown did not return for Godzilla X Kong The New Empire, and here's why. The fifth installment of the MonsterVerse franchise is a direct sequel to 2021's Godzilla vs Kong, which featured a big assemble of human characters opposite the two Titan Titan. Official date of Godzilla X Kong confirmed a new few returning cast members: Rebecca Hall, Brian, Terry, Henry, and Kelly Hotel. All three of them debuted in the last movie, but they are the only MonsterVerse vendor who are back. That raised question about Molly Bobby's brain not returning for Godzilla X Kong The New Empire. Stranger Things stars Millie Bobby Brown joined the MonsterVerse back in 2019. She made her debut in Godzilla King of the Monsterverse vs Madison Rossell, the daughter of monarchs Emma Rossell and Mark Rossell. Madison played a central role in the movie, switching from being against the monsters to helping save them. Millie Bobby Brown's character returned in Godzilla vs Kong, where she was the main human character lied to Godzilla X Kong story. Although Godzilla vs Kong ending features some human consolidation, Madison survived, making her future in the franchise possible. Millie Bobby Brown's Madison didn't fit Godzilla X Kong story. The reason why Millie Bobby Brown did not return as Madison in Godzilla X Kong The New Empire is due to the direction in which the story went. Madison played a central role in the period of two MonsterVerse movies because he was primarily linked to Godzilla X Kong. The King of the Monsters revolved around the giant lizard, while Godzilla vs Kong had a much bigger role for him to play. Once it became clear that Godzilla X Kong would be more focused on Kong, it was not necessary for Madison to appear. Director Adam Wingard elaborated on the decision to leave Millie Bobby Brown out during an interview with Digital Sky. He said, "I just feel like we are wrapped up the King of the Monster arc in the last movie, with her arc concluded in Wingard's mind. Her interest in having a smaller group of human characters made Madison an easy to cut from the main storyline. This does not mean that Millie Bobby Brown will never return to the MonsterVerse. Wingard even said there could be a place for her in the future." Millie Bobby Brown was never part of Godzilla X Kong cast list. The official cast list of Godzilla X Kong The New Empire does not include Millie Bobby Brown, and it never did. The movie is known to have Rebecca Hall's Dr. Eileen Andrews, Brian Terry as Henry Bernie Hayes, and Kelly Hotel as Gia returning. Dan Stevens, Flash Chen, Rachel House, and Alex Friend play new characters joining the MonsterVerse. Throughout the development of the movie, there was never a sign that Millie Bobby Brown would return for Godzilla X Kong, and she was not featured in the trailer. It is unknown if she was considered to return at some point, but the actor's busy schedule could be another reason why he should not return. Millie Bobby Brown was not yet filming Stranger Things Season 5 at the time, but production on Godzilla X Kong The New Empire took place as she was preparing to film the Russo brothers' new film, The Electric State. It is possible that she attempted to enjoy a small break from work before working on the Russo's new movie instead of returning in the MonsterVerse, if that was something that franchise wanting from her. Godzilla X Kong does not address Millie Bobby Brown's character. Leaving Millie Bobby Brown out of Godzilla X Kong is one thing, but the movie can have provided a quick explanation for her absence. Instead, Madison is completely ignored at every point. For example, it would be easy for Bernie to mention that Madison is up to. Godzilla X Kong could have revealed that they remained in touch after the period adventure, with Bernie able to briefly tell something like Dr. Andrews where Madison is and she is doing all his paintings briefly. The decision not to address Millie Bobby Brown character in Godzilla X Kong could be a good thing. Through her life after Godzilla vs Kong that remains a completely mystery now. Future installments retain the freedom to her a story in any direction imaginable. Whether that means joining Monarch, searching for Titan on her own, or something else entirely. Madison's future is a blank state that future MonsterVerse movies can shape however they see fit in order to bring Millie Bobby Brown back. Godzilla X Kong focus on other human character with medicine absence. Millie Bobby Brown not return for Godzilla X Kong. The new empire leave rooms for the movie to focus on other human character. Instead of having Madison come back and retain the franchise more Godzilla certain approach, the films put a greater emphasis on Kong's storyline. This can be seen in using a villain like the Scar King on the introduction of Bobby Crown. It is also me that human characters like Dr. Andrews and Gia have even bigger resolve in the new empire than they had in Godzilla vs Kong.